Hello there, Ian here, and great to be with you once again. We've just come back from almost a month in England, in the UK, where we've had a great time meeting up with family and friends and having a bit of time just chilling and relaxing. And we've also seen some bizarre temperatures there. When we were in England, it reached a new record of, I think it was 38 degrees Celsius there. So for a couple of days it was uncomfortably hot for us, and then thankfully it did return to what we would call normal British summertime weather, which was a mixture of clear days and showers, and that was quite welcome for us. But we had a great time. Great to be back with you, and great to be back here. Today's idea that I'd like to share with you may be, or may seem, a little bit of a challenge. But I do believe it has clear dividends in looking after your employees and running your companies more effectively and more profitably. So, there's a bit of an introduction that I'll give you to tee it up, but do stay with me, and I think there are real advantages if you adopt the approach. So here's a bit of background. Some of you that know me well would know I qualified as a biochemist many years ago, and biochemistry, by the way, is the study of the chemistry of cells, what goes on in and between cells. And we study biology in that field, and biological systems need healthy circulations. When we have blockages in our circulations, generally that's not a good thing. If we have blockages in our tissues, that allows toxins to build up and bacteria to congregate, which can cause infection, and generally not a good thing. If we have blockages in our vascular system, which is our arteries and veins, of course we can get thromboses, we can get strokes and heart attacks if we have blockages in those very vulnerable areas. So circulations need to be healthy, and blockages, not a good thing. The second bit of sort of background to this piece is that the more frequently that you measure something, the better it's likely to get. If we only measure some key indicator every month or every quarter, or heaven forbid every year, then a lot can happen in between those measurement points, and something can be going pretty badly, but if we only measure it several weeks later, we don't pick it up. So the frequency of measurement is crucial if we want to improve something important. So they're the two sort of background pieces. Circulation's good, measurement frequency helps us improve. So where am I leading with this? So full transparency, this is not, I didn't come up with this idea. I saw a segment of a conference organised by Conscious Capitalism, and that's where this idea comes from. And I'll share the link below if you want to watch the full piece. But during that, the segment that I saw, the idea of payment frequency was introduced. Now, there are three main variables in everyone's pay. The amount that you get, so what your salary is, and the amount that you're due in maybe bonuses or profit sharing or whatever that might be. So the first variable is the amount. The second amount is the structure of that. And I mentioned how much is salary, how much is profit share, how much is bonus, how much is tips, if that's factored into your income. So number one is the amount, the other one is the structure, what it's made up of. The third element is timing, how frequently you are paid. Now, we're all used to a monthly payment cycle. Salaried employees are typically paid in arrears after they've done a month's work. But there are many of us that employ hourly paid workers. Their hours may vary from month to month, but often these team members are paid still a month in arrears. Now, if you think about it, that might get quite tricky for those people at the front line working on an hourly paid agreement. There are a different number of weekends, a different number of public holidays, so their pay can be quite varied. When a lot of expenses don't vary much, things like utility bills, school fees, and those types of things, they remain quite constant, even though the variability of salary goes up and down. So it doesn't take too much imagination to realise that things can get quite challenging for hourly paid team members if they're paid a month in arrears. Now, sadly, and I think it's sad that we've seen quite a rise in things called payday loan organisations, where people take a bit of a bridge between where they need to be with their expenses and the next paycheck coming in. They need a bit of a bridge of money, and they go to a payday lender, and that can get very tricky because interest rates are very high, and it's quite easy to allow that to get out of control. So where am I going with this? Remember, 3 variables: the amount, the structure, and the payment frequency. Now, and don't forget, I began with circulation and measurement. So we're all familiar with the phrase, a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, I hope. And that phrase, actually, I learned, is over 2,000 years old. It's been with us for as long as we can remember. A fair day's work for a fair day's pay. So the key to what I'm suggesting that you consider is paying your hourly paid workers, if you have them, on a daily basis. Now, if you do employ frontline staff or any kind of team member on an hourly basis, you may be thinking, holy smokes, that's a lot of extra work and a lot of extra processing for us. And it may be, but the technology exists to make this easier, and I'll get onto that in a minute. But let's just come back to circulation and measurement for a moment, because if you're an entrepreneur or an employer and thinking that is a lot of extra effort, just bear with me a second. Remember, circulation is good. If you have a blockage anywhere in a system, it's generally bad news. We're all familiar with the term cash flow. If we have cash flowing through our organisation to our employees and team members on a frequent basis, that is generally a lot healthier than having a block, which is typically a month long, a blockage of each month, allowing a build-up before we release the money. How about we pay people more regularly? Now, circulation's good. When the money comes in, we can make allocations very easily into investment accounts, into other vehicles that can help us manage our money so it doesn't sit in one place for too long. We know exactly where it is and where it's going. Measurement frequency is good. And if we pay out to our employees on a more frequent basis, we have a much better measuring system for knowing exactly where our cash is going. So circulation's good, and if we are measuring where our cash is going on a daily basis, well, you can imagine that measurement frequency allows us to be very, very astute at where our cash is going and where it's being spent. We can make adjustments very quickly to keep our business healthy. So we solve the circulation problem and the measurement problem. Now, at the front line, our hourly workers are able to benefit from an easier way to budget. They get their money every day. They can budget their expenses a lot easier than they can if they have to wait to the end of the month for a variable number of days or hours that they're getting paid. So it benefits the frontline staff that may be on hourly agreements. It benefits the company because they know exactly where the money is and it's flowing through nicely to keep the company healthy. So how about the salaried monthly employees? Well, I am an advocate for paying them on a more frequent basis than once a month. Even if it's every 2 weeks, those benefits that I just went through still can apply if you pay people on, let's say, a 2-week basis. But how about the upstream? How about the suppliers that pay us? How could we invoice those more frequently to get their cash into the business on a more frequent basis too? All of these elements can help us run and manage our operations a lot more effectively and have great benefit to our team members, whether they're salaried employees on a monthly basis or hourly or on hourly arrangements. So I hope you can see that there are benefits there. Lastly, well, I mentioned before, if you are an employer or you're the CFO, you may be thinking that's an awful lot more work to be done processing that on a daily basis. The good news is, if we were having this conversation maybe 20, 25 years ago, I'd probably agree with you. That's a lot of work and you will need a lot of extra hands. But today, the technology exists that enables us to gather the hourly information and pay automatically those team members that are on an hourly arrangement. We get the number of hours. The technology allows us to pay on a daily basis, and we can see immediately our cash position thanks to some pretty straightforward technology. So yeah, maybe 20, 30 years ago it would have been hard, but today the technology does exist. The benefits are there, and at least think about it. If you do employ hourly, and these typically are frontline staff on an hourly arrangement, if you do have those in your organization, do think about those precious people and how to help them. And guess what? If they're happier and they're able to have less worries about the finances, they perform better for us anyway. So there's a whole benefit cycle to be had with improving our payment frequency. So that was quite a long piece for this week, but I do hope that it gave you something to think about, and keep scaling, and I'll look forward to sharing with you again soon.